Hey guys, right here is what I use to easily cut tiles. In my experience, the best manual tile cutter on the market, the Sigma tile cutter. Now, a quick jump back in time. I was always a Rubi tile cutter fan and used them a lot back in the day. And when these Sigma cutters first came out, I thought they looked weird and awkward, quite frankly. With the scribing handle out the other end of the cutter and working backwards, it just felt very unnatural to me coming from a Rubi cutter where you work front on. That was enough for me to ignore the Sigma cutters, along with some other unfamiliar things. Fast forward to the present day, and I've chucked all but one of my Rubi cutters in the bin, and I now have 3 Sigma cutters, and I'll tell you why. Tiles have changed a lot in the last 10 plus years, and going from, say, 70% ceramic tiles to 30% porcelain, I'd say these days it's more like 90% porcelain and 10% ceramic. I use on a weekly basis, and with that, the tiles with the Rubi pull and snap braking mechanism were just getting harder to cut. I needed a proper push braking mechanism to cut the tiles cleanly, and that's what led me back to the Sigma cutters. And the one thing that changed it all, a legend of a guy at my local tile shop, who's sadly not with us now, sold me on the Sigma by saying one thing: you know you can turn the handle around on it, right? And that was it. That was enough to swing me into buying these types of cutters, and I've never looked back since. So it's personal preference, but the first thing I'd recommend when purchasing a Sigma cutter is unscrewing the bar and turning the handle around. This will feel so much more natural when scribing. I'll show you here on my 60cm cutter. It's pretty simple, just got to remove the 2 nuts on either side. That will release the bar and then you can pull it out. This is how the handle will come with the Sigma, which I call the wrong way, and you just slide it around the other way like this. Then just reverse the process to fix it back in. Put the 2 end caps on, push it down and screw up both the nuts. Now this is a lot better. Working from the front just seems so much more natural. The setup is pretty generic on most Sigma cutters. This is it in its packed away position. The measurement bar screws into these holes for carrying and storage. To unpack, you unscrew and place the measuring bar in the top hole. Line up the nut on the left with the screw handle, screw it in a little bit. Select your angle on the right by pushing down the button. Once you're happy, just tighten the screw on the left and you're good to go. Bigger cutters will have support bars for the tile. You just pull them out, and the bigger the cutter, the more support bars you get. And to pack the cutter away, you just reverse this process. It's always good to spray some oil or lubricant on the sliding bar and the wheel before tiling. You probably need to do this every week or so just to keep everything smooth. So with the mechanisms, there are 2 different types you can get. I'd only recommend in this series, which is series 3, the push to score max version. This is far superior and easier to work with than the pull and score type on the other version. The bolts used to remove the scribe bar can be adjusted to accommodate different thicknesses of tile by lowering or bringing up the height of the bar. You can cut up to 20mm tiles. The scribe handle houses the wheel and breaker. You flip the breaker back to scribe the tile and pull the handle up to bring the breaker back down. Then it's just a case of pushing down to break the tile. For scribing and cutting, to line the tile up, I usually mark 2 marks for accuracy, but 1 is fine. The wheel on your cutter will naturally make a centre mark at the top of your cutter. This is where I place my first mark, and my second mark I line up with the right hand side of this bar running through the cutter, as you can see here. Sigma don't make it the easiest to see, but if you look from the side, it's fine. Also, the new Series 4 have a laser attachment, but I don't think it's really needed. So first you do a little scribe backwards, and then just pushing down with not too much pressure, scribe through the tile. 1 scribe is fine for 90% of tiles. You may want 2 if your tile doesn't look like it's going to break. You can then just release the breaker by pulling up on the handle and then push down on the handle to break. You can push down in other areas if you need to here. And as you can see, it's always a super easy, clean cut. I'll show you here with a few various different types of tiles and cuts. This here is a porcelain tile, and I've got a ceramic tile here. And again, I'll show you with both how easy it is to cut. The other thing is you can get really, really small slivers off on this cutter. Half the size of this cut here. You'll be absolutely amazed when you have a go. Another type of porcelain here. And obviously tile depending, but you can see here this is a super clean edge, and once rubbed with a diamond block this would look like a factory edge on the tile. These days with a lot of herringbone and envelope cuts for wet trays, this is where the cutter really comes into its own. Firstly, for herringbone 45-degree cuts, like at the start, loosen the nut on the left and reposition the measurement bar to 45 degrees and tighten. Now you can easily cut herringbone or other tile angles. You can use the provided guide to set a gauge or mark on the cutter itself for multiple cuts, and this braking mechanism allows you to get the cuts off without breaking the edges. For diamond or envelope cuts, I bring the measuring bar back straight. I'll just cut this tile into a square to show. If you want to cut point to point like this, line it up like I showed you with the 2 marks, and you can just easily scribe and snap. This is really handy for shower wet trays or diamond floors to save time with angle grinding or wet cutting through tiles, plus you get a better finish at the end of the day. The Sigma cutters come in various sizes. I have a 60, 90 and 120. I'll show you here the various cuts on the cutters. I've had my 90 cutter for 7 years now, and I've never changed a wheel or any part. They're rock solid and well made. You can buy plenty of accessories, whether to assist with cutting mosaic sheets or add extra support arms, gauges. You can buy the max handle to go on the non-max breaker, which is great. So in my opinion, these are a great, solid, versatile cutting machine. Although Rubi have caught up and have a similar breaker now, and other brands have copied the Sigma design, I'd never go back now to anything else. The only Rubi cutter I own now is my small TS40, which I mainly use just for kitchens, for subway tiles, etc. Anything that's quite small, and ceramic. The Sigmas can be more pricey than other cutters, at around 300 plus for a decent one, but it's an investment you'll never look back on. It's a cutter you'll own for years without problems and will pay for itself in time and heartache using other methods. So I guess that's the big tip of the week from me, showing you how I cut my tiles and to buy a Sigma cutter for a more easier life tiling. So with that, I hope you found this useful, guys. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.